your journey through cancer and trauma is incredibly difficult. And how does that shape how you care for others? When you created Sacred Space, you were you finished with those journeys and then said, "Hey, I need to do something because others are going through, and I need to heal myself. Let me create this." Or was it something different?
Oh no, healing in this modality is an ongoing process. So I started this in 2020. We started Open Doors September of 2020. So right in the thick of still in the
COVID.
middle of COVID and the craziness that was going on with all of that. Anyway, I was still in the middle of getting divorced. My divorce wasn't even final until July of 2021, where the domestic violence had ended up coming from.
Okay.
uh, in as a result of the cancer diagnosis that I had. So between 2015 and starting this business in 2019, like that was a full 4 years of just junk
Hmm.
that piled and piled and piled. And so as I started this business, the more that I found within myself of how I could help other people do what I do because I've been a massage therapist for, well, at that point it was 15, 16, 17 years.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and the more that I could get back out and find my own health and healing and get back into the practices of massage and meeting practitioners that could somatically help me, that could, the doctors that I needed to move forward is where we brought all of this into Sacred Space. And so building this was really a big part of my own journey too. And as I get triggered and then I meet somebody that is a great practitioner in town, it's like, hey, come on in. You're doing great things. You did great things for me, and come join us and help the rest of the community because you've got great things to offer out as well.
Right. Yep. I love that. And so your cancer was, you said 2015?
2015, December 2015, I got diagnosed with uterine cancer.
Okay. And with that, I didn't realize you were already had been a massage therapist, so you were already in the healing space of for others, not necessarily for ourselves. It's like, okay, I can help others, and then when you had the trauma for the domestic violence, you had that on top of still trying to heal because as a cancer survivor myself, it that part is difficult. Once you've got that diagnosis, I don't know if it's like this for you, but for me, I kind of say I'm living with cancer just because they can't rule it out. They can only rule it in. If it's big and if it's small enough, they have no idea if it's in your body or, whatever, if it's going to do anything. It's not until it's big enough for it to cause an issue can they say, okay, it's there. So for me, I wanted to make peace with it. And, because I don't think that it's gone. I think it is, somewhere. But if I can live harmoniously with it, then maybe my body won't, bring it out as much. I don't know. I could be delusional, but,
Well,
that's
I don't I don't think so. I think there's all different perspectives of how we interpret our own illnesses and things that come up. What I've realized the biggest side and what I take personally, that you just explained your perspective. My perspective on it is that cancer, a cancer diagnosis is a symptom of something else that's going on.
true.
And the body presents chronic illness, it presents issues as symptoms of something that's deeper, whether that's emotional or spiritual or past trauma or whatever. There's something bigger going on, which is really why, as far as blending everything into Sacred Space is ideal, because we can treat symptoms. Western medicine treats symptoms all the time with medications and surgeries and processes with that. But let's get to the root and really get to the root of what's going on and heal the emotional side of it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I do have part of that to, I am a big proponent, which is why I was thrilled for this interview. I'm a big proponent, and anybody who knows me, I like to go holistic first. I mean, there's a time and a place for
Mhm.
um, Western and doctors and everything. So I don't have anything against them. I just know that I am inquisitive and I need to know kind of like what's happening. And so when I get to doctors, you have your 15 minutes and my questions always go past that. But it's like I do not want to treat symptoms. I want to get to the root of this. Don't give me a prescription that I need to be on for the rest of my life. Let's try and get to the root of it. Let's handle it and then, see if we can do that. If not, and I need that, I always know I can fall back on that, but I do not want that as my first one. And when I got diagnosed, I was like, I know there are miracles. I know there are people who cure, their own cancer and stuff and that mind body connection. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do holistic first. And I already thought I was living fairly healthily. And I'm like, okay, went cold turkey, not, getting off sugar and a bunch of other things. And I went to get another scan because I went to the radiologist and I said, you need to show me. I don't trust just a report. I need to see it with my own eyes. And
Mhm.
so they accommodated me and everything and all that. And I didn't change that within, I think it was like a month or two. I don't think I have that mind body connection strong enough. Others do, and I could see that. So I knew that was going to be a problem. And that's not something you just flip a switch and it turns on. That's something you have to cultivate. And, I think so. I had to use Western and get that um, poison and mutilation and all that stuff. I know I shouldn't use those words, but I honestly, that's how I feel,
Mhm.
how I felt. And so, it seems like if I had found you and, your space, I might have had an easier adjustment. I might have made the same decisions, but it might have had an easier adjustment kind of going through. I don't know you didn't have your space yet when you were diagnosed, but I don't know if any of this resonates.
Oh, it completely does. And while we're not going to say that we can cure anything
Correct.
on any aspect of it, but it's really taken that whole hand-holding approach to you figuring out, or each individual person really taking their own personal responsibility for their own health and what resonates with them at each step of the way. We can facilitate into different practitioners and different practitioner personalities, not just modalities, but to really find the right fit that's going to connect you with your higher self, your true inner knowing of how to heal yourself, because that's really what it is. The body knows what to do. We just need to give it the right information and the right tools in order to open that up and get there. And if you're searching Google and trying to find practitioners in a city as large as Colorado Springs and not knowing where to start or even what you might need, or not knowing what's even out there, oftentimes that leads you down the path of, well, I just listen to what the doctors are telling me and treating symptoms and that side of things, which is a big difference of what we've got. Because we'll sit down and talk to you and say, well, have you thought about this? Does this resonate? Does this sound different?
Right. I'm not sure. Were you in Colorado Springs when you got your diagnosis?
No, I was up in Denver,
Okay.
living in Denver.
So you probably had the same thing. You get, the doctor tells you, then all of a sudden they bring you a nurse navigator and they
Mhm.
have this binder and they go, okay, and they're starting to schedule, all of these doctors and all that kind of stuff, which is great because, they're helping you. However, for me, they didn't give me time to stop and think. It's like you got to go here, you got to go, and I'm like, wait a second, let's pull the brakes on, and let me process and let me see what else I can do. But before you start doing that, did you have a similar experience?
I did, and it was so disorienting and disheartening for all of it because I really didn't have any time to sit with that decision before they had me scheduled for 6 different appointments plus a whole treatment plan. And it was like boom, 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 this is where we're gonna go with all of it. I think I no called, no showed like 3 appointments because I just couldn't, I was so overwhelmed and couldn't do anything with it. They were very mad up at UC Health Anschutz. But at the same time, it was like, I kind of have to do that for myself um to figure these things out because none of it felt right. I felt like I was in a cattle car, right?
Yes.
Like you got this diagnosis and now you are on the fast track to get whatever their research tells you that they need. And I'm not saying that any of it's wrong because they have plenty of research behind all of it. They do have great information protocols. They do save lives with all of it. But it's that time in between of really being able to sit back, process, and take it in before making those huge life-changing decisions at that point.
Yeah,
That I
they already have like your surgery scheduled and everything, and it's just like, do I really need the surgery? Let's process this. Let's have a dialogue. And I didn't get that. It was just like, this is the protocol, and you've got to do that. Now, I did realize that there are a lot of people that whether it doesn't have to be cancer, it could be anything
the
that
chronic
they're
illness.
diagnosed with. Yeah,
Hmm.
that it's like, okay, they just run you through. And there are some people that don't have the capacity to stop and think and take in their own wellness. They just want to be told and they just go through it. There's nothing wrong with that. I always said there's no judgment. Everybody's got their own journey, and let's support them, which is what you do. But
Absolutely.
now we're letting people know that there is an alternative, not necessarily for your treatment as far as Western and stuff, but now for the whole body. When I was looking for an oncologist, I have a story about that, but I really wanted an integrative oncologist. And in 2012, I couldn't find one. I got one that was a little more open, but I could not find one. And I was so disappointed that that didn't, wasn't in Colorado Springs at the time.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, even in 2015, I didn't even find one in Denver.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah, Denver surrounding areas, even going all the way up to Boulder. Because I was willing to drive if there were somebody around there, but it really didn't exist. And so the difference in that 10 years now is huge,
Oh,
really,
okay.
for what people are coming around with this. And everything that we've just talked about in that support and acknowledging that where people are at and which route they want to choose is really one of the other foundational pieces that we put into sacred space because we facilitate a monthly luncheon support group for the GCC or the Gynecological Cancer Coalition here in
Oh,
town, which is in and works with Sue's Gift for
right.
gynecological cancers, and so to be able to add different support groups for different chronic illnesses or cancer diagnoses and that kind of stuff is another big part of where I extend or want to extend that health and healing out to everybody here because it makes so much of a difference to be able to have a group that you can come in and talk to that have been through the same uh or very similar diagnoses or in very similar boats. You can sit down and talk. You can get those additional resources. What doctor do you have? Who are you talking to? Did this work for you? Did you have to go through this chemo or do this surgery? All of those things come into playing a part and really creates the richness in that support. It's not just about an individual practitioner or guiding through specific treatments that we do here. It's really about that community aspect and bringing that core side of things out to where you just have that much more support to share your story and to really see it in a richer aspect of things.
Right. And we are talking cancer just because both of us have that in common. And
Right.
that is our experience. But I want people to know, the listeners, that this is not about cancer. This is not about one diagnosis. And even if you don't have a diagnosis of anything, sacred space is for you. It's for
Yeah.
your wellness and richness. So